Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to twitch.tv/Ice Cream Plus. My name is Graham Day, and this man is the man that we call Baby. I'll read.
Hello.
I'll read. Did
Hello. Good morning.
you have a good weekend, mate?
Yes, it was okay. Didn't really do much.
That's a no.
Yeah, it's just average. Nothing to shout about. Nothing exciting.
Sometimes those are the best weekends. Weekends where you just have the time to just take the weekend seriously. It's a weekend. You're not midweek. You're just like, yeah. Do you know? I'm having a Saturday, and then I'm having a Sunday. Deal with it, motherfuckers.
Well, my weekend's just got a lot better. So I've just seen Neil Buchanan trending on Twitter, and apparently it turns out there's a mad conspiracy that
He's
he's in
Banksy.
fact actually Banksy.
Yes.
So I would fucking love that to come true. That would be amazing.
Just imagine, like, you've all got your own opinion on who Banksy is or what he is, or maybe you've not even thought about it that much. But I always kind of get the idea that he scouts his locations. So he's someone that's he puts the effort into his work, and then when he does go along, I imagine it's all a little bit cloak and dagger, like if he just paints on the side of a building or something like that, or under a subway, he goes around scouts it. So yeah, that's nice, and then he makes sure that okay, we're gonna go at 3 o'clock. It's gonna be dark. I'm gonna have someone there with minimal lighting so I can see it or whatever. I'm gonna get my shit done up out before people see it, and just imagine it in real life. What's actually happening is there's some dudes running down in blue jeans and a red jumper, going, "This is an heart attack. This is an heart attack."
There's been some breaking news.
All right, all right.
I am just gonna send it you on Discord now.
Interesting.
I've literally just seen this.
Okay,
I haven't been on the site this morning because I got the news that I needed from elsewhere, but this is massive.
Killing that for a sec then. Opening that up. Interesting. Okay, do you know what? We'll start with that. Even though it's not the head story as such, we will start with it just because it's an interesting bit of news. But anyway, if you're in the chat, please feel free to get involved. We are going to jump into that fresh new news story. I'm going to bring Biggie back. My baby back, Lebs. Anyway, we're going to jump into that story, but first, my name is Graham, this is Bib. We are Ice Cream Uploads, and in true Ice Creamy fashion, each and every single weekday at 10 a.m, we bring you The Scoop, the UK's #1 video game podcast, and we're going to bring you the biggest, the best, and the breaking stories from the world of video games for you to discuss with us, and it's us to discuss with you. We're going to give you our thoughts and impressions, and we want your thoughts and impressions on our thoughts and impressions in return. We are live on twitch.tv/Ice Cream Uploads. So if you're in the chat, please feel free to drop your comments and thoughts and impressions in there. And it's important that you do because we turn this into a podcast, a video that goes on YouTube, and an audio podcast that goes on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So if you are on Twitch right now, please do get involved on behalf of everyone else that is getting involved later on. But anyway, as mentioned, we do have an interesting bit of news to start off the day, one that I didn't expect to see, but let's jump straight into it. As we have a farewell from Kotaku UK. Interesting. Written by Rich Stanton. Kotaku UK began 6 years ago in September 2014. Back then, Nintendo was twisting in the wind with Wii U. How will they ever recover from this? PS4 and Xbox One were stomping through their first year, and Amazon was buying Twitch for just south of $1 billion. If you mentioned Battle Royale back then, you were talking about a film. In the UK, developers like Creative Assembly were knocking out stone cold classics like Alien Isolation. Playground was getting into serious groove with Forza Horizon 2, while Peter Molyneux's 22 Cans finally released Godus, and let's move on. Video games have changed a lot in the time since Kotaku UK launched, and will continue to morph and move at a breakneck pace in the years to come. Sadly, we won't be around to guide you through them. For those that don't know, Kotaku US is run by Geo Media, with future publishing licensing out the brand and content for the UK site, the one you're reading right now. Unfortunately, Future has decided not to renew the license when it expires on Wednesday, the 9th of September, meaning the end of the current incarnation of Kotaku UK. So this is the end for those of us working. For those of you, I've lost it because I scrolled. There we go. This is the end for those of us working on the site right now, but not necessarily the end for a localized version of Kotaku. The rights will be reverting back to Geo Media this week, and US-based Kotaku will continue to operate and produce content. Fans can now continue to follow Gizmodo at kotaku.com. It's been Kotaku UK. I've been Kotaku UK's editor for 3 years, before which I was a regular contributor, and the journey has been a privilege. I'd especially like to thank the people who made Kotaku UK what it was. Former editor Keza MacDonald, who with Future started the site, and our colleagues over the years: Dave Captain Bash, Julian Benson, Leon Hurley, Alistair Jones, Kelly Kanayama, Laura Kate Dale, Tom Pritchard, Kimberly Snaith, Jack Tomlin, and CJ Wheeler. I fling you all one last salute from the deck. One thing this job gave me was a deep respect for the output of Kotaku and the talent and hard work of its US staff, past and present. I'd particularly like to thank Stephen Totilo for various help and advice over the years, as well as for making me an expert bluffer on the Division 2 game. A game I've never played. Alex Walker, editor of Kotaku Australia, thanks for all the swaps over the years. You're a good mate, and catch you later. Finally, I'd like to say farewell to our readers. My sense was always that you love games, have a sense of humour, and value good writing. That's what we always tried to deliver. I'm sorry to say goodbye. I hope you all enjoyed the ride, and please take one thing forward from Kotaku UK. See games differently. Written by Rich Stanton from Kotaku UK. Not the greatest start to the week.
Not really.
Thoughts, babe?
Well, I thought print media would be going before digital ones, and I honestly thought. I mean, I don't tend to go on Kotaku that much unless I know for the fact that the websites that I go to my daily video game news aren't giving me the news that I think would be uh, that our audience would like to hear. So Kotaku is usually like fifth or sixth choice. Obviously, VGC, VG247 are the two that I go. Then Eurogamer, and then believe it or not, Metro, because I think Metro UK, a very, very undervalued news source for video games. Game Central, I have no idea who you are, but it just seems like a very generic name. Is someone who writes a lot of stuff on there, which is
I love the way that. Imagine if Game Central was actually like Mr. or Mrs. Central, or Ms. or whatever, was actual Mr. or Mrs. Game Central. The name Central.
Yeah.
Game Central.
So going to those sites first is usually my first part of call. Kotaku is usually down the list, but it's interesting that they are considered one of the best outlets to get your video game news. So it's interesting to see that they will be moving away. I don't know whether or not it's at the very top where they've had disagreements with each other and they've just started to part away, and then obviously underneath that then becomes the writers and the teams that are underneath there. They're the ones that are unfortunately going to be the people that are going to be fading away and have to find jobs elsewhere. So I don't know whether or not it's a battle at the top, but it's very interesting that they've started to disperse and they're going to go back to Gizmodo. Is it
Gizmodo?
Gizmodo?
Yeah, I mean, so for those of you that aren't aware how that works, essentially Kotaku is a brand that is American. That brand is then licensed out to be used elsewhere, just kind of like you would have a McDonald's near you might be run and owned by Steve, but Steve has bought the franchise rights from McDonald's to run his own restaurant. They're not all like that. A lot are run by McDonald's themselves. But anyway, Kotaku runs its own site, which is Geo, whatever it says, Geo Media. So Future Publishing has been licensing that brand out. Future Publishing is a media brand, and they have, a complete mental block now. Do Future have the likes of EGX? Maybe not. Anyway, Future have a bunch of magazines, be that print or digital. Maybe I know they are scaling back on the print side, but yeah, for whatever reason, they've been licensing this brand from Kotaku US, Geo Media, and have decided that it isn't fruitful enough. So they will have staff that they pay, either freelancers, so freelance contributors, either pitch work and say, I've got a story that's looking at this new up and coming game called Bidman from Warner Brothers. It's about some world class streamer on a world class streaming channel that is a superhero as well. And no one's heard about it, so I want to write this article. I can do it you for 300 quid or whatever, and Kotaku go, oh well, we'll get the media clicks from that, we'll get advertising revenue, so yeah, okay, we think that's worthwhile. Or they say, we have a story we need writing, Mr. Freelancer, do you fancy doing it for this much? It could go either way. So that's freelancers, but then they'll have staff writers as well. So maybe, I imagine Rich Stanton being the editor is staff. He's paid a salary. So they have an outlay that needs to be recouped. And obviously they're not making that money, or they're not making enough of that money, or it's downward trending. So maybe they earn a bunch 2 years ago, less last year, and this year even less still. So they're probably thinking, okay, if we carry on in the next couple of years, we're going to lose money, so let's just not renew the license. It's either that, or Future Publishing have thought, do you know what, we're doing okay, but we don't necessarily need to rely on the Kotaku UK brand, because it's a big brand in global video games, not necessarily the largest in UK video games. And I say that comfortably, but obviously you may argue, but I say that comfortably because I agree with exactly what Bibby's just said. I know Kotaku, I see Kotaku as a good news source, and it's also an alternate news source. It gives you news with that sort of like different angle, or different news because it looks at things from a different angle, but it's not at the top of my list. And I imagine if Bibby's just said that and I agree with it entirely, then I imagine a lot of other people are feeling the same. So it's a good brand, but it's not necessarily the number one brand. So if you're paying to sub-license something, you might as well just go out and do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder how much they was paying to keep that franchise going for so long. Because if the numbers are starting to dwindle and people aren't going to that site regularly, if they've still got big overheads, then how much was they paying to keep it going? It's fair play for going back. I mean, the decision is probably well out of the people's hands who are writing the articles. It's just people above them, innit?
Yeah, absolutely, it will be. It's it. Yeah, I wonder not so much how much they're paying. I wonder more like what is the reasoning for it. So if it is the fact that things are dropping off, as I've kind of mentioned, it could be. Obviously, I'm not saying that's what it is. Maybe Kotaku were absolutely smashing it, and the news guys are doing so well that they thought, okay, we've done this for 6 years. Chucky, yay! Thank you very much for the 6 month resub, guy. My guy. Yeah. And just in time as well, because we're doing the loot drop today as well. So we will be picking someone to win one of these bad boy baseball caps. So you got to be a sub. You got to be in it to win it, and the way you're in it is to be a sub and be in the Discord. So yeah, well done. Thank you very much for the 6 month, half a year of support. Very, very much appreciate it. Genuinely, I know you hear that all the time. Thanks for the raid. Thanks for the followers, stuff like that. And it does kind of maybe feel like it means less the more I say it. It doesn't mean it means exactly the same, and especially the fact that you've been supporting us for half a year, very, very much appreciated. Not including the 13 gifted subs that you've had in the channel as well. Much appreciate your support, dude. But yeah, Kotaku, maybe they're not losing numbers. Maybe they're thinking, okay, well, we've just at that point where we have to renew the license, and we're absolutely smashing it 6 years in. Why don't we just do it and take all of the profit rather than using Kotaku's brand? Because in 3 years' time, if we renew, maybe Kotaku goes, actually, if you want that brand that cost you 100 grand, it's now going to cost you 200 grand because it's much bigger now. So they might be going, do you know what, Future, where Future, we have the likes of Rich Stanton and the other members of staff that have been on board to help us develop it. Let's just do our own thing. I mean, it could be. I imagine it's not so much that. It could be between the two, but the fact that he's thanking all the staff and they're talking about parting ways makes me feel like it's the end of something. But yeah, I'm not sure. Either way, to lose an outlet like Kotaku UK, that could be the sign of something bigger. We always talk about print magazines being on the out. I mean, obviously, who used to buy like OXM or PSM, whatever, official Xbox mag and PlayStation mag and things like that? They don't exist anymore, or not in the same capacity. There used to be like 5 or 6 different magazines for each brand, and then they all started fading off because print started to die. But it wasn't just print that started to die. Like all essences of journalism, because quite often you can get your journalism from a podcast. Hi guys, hey, or from YouTube channels or so on. And not that I think that they do a good job at replacing. I think it's quite often stuff on podcasts and YouTube videos aren't fully researched. Not always, but often, because it's content that's churned. Which is why when we do the scoop, we feature sources on stream, because we want to find sources. Like the fact that we're featuring a Kotaku article is because we know that Kotaku have done their research. They will have, or we count on them doing their research. Obviously, take everything with a pinch, because you can only, as with any form of media, digestion. Just because I'm saying it's real doesn't necessarily mean it absolutely is. Even if I'm telling you straight in the face, do you know what? I'm not lying to you. You don't know unless you've done the research yourself. Anyway, we take that for granted. So that we will feature VGC, we'll feature VG247, we'll feature Kotaku, we'll feature EGX, GameSpot, IGN, whoever. We feature those because we know that they are usually, or you would expect them to have done a good level of research. So if this is a sign of the market's changing, so we've lost print, if we now start to lose web and fan media because there isn't enough there, or because genres are changing to just audio and video predominantly, then that is a little bit of something lost. And there is obviously the worry that content needs to be so quick and digestible that maybe it won't be researched. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. Maybe it's just Kotaku have gone, do you know what? We don't want to relicense our brand. We'll do our own UK side of things. It could be that, but yeah, not the greatest start of the week.
This stuff pisses me off as well. I've got on Twitter you can put lists. So you can put I don't know, I've got one for retro Pez and retro gaming and news sources and stuff like that. So as I'm scrolling through Twitter, I can see the stuff that I actually want to see. And Games Radar have shared something 3 hours ago and said it's been a long wait since Skyrim, but here's what we know about Elder Scrolls 6. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, this is tasty. This is fresh off the press. It's the same article that they're written in July this year. Why are they resharing that now for me to go onto it? To know I've already read this.
Hot off the press.
Why are they it's like this can fucking get in the bin alongside Kotaku.
So yeah, if you didn't catch it, we weren't planning to start with this article, but it's just something we've seen, so we just jumped on it first. But Kotaku UK is here for 2 days and then it's gone. They aren't renewing the license. It's licensed by Future Publishing from Geo Media, and it is no more, so it is on its way out. Jumping back in the chat, Tickle Streams, good morning, dude. How's your day going? How's your week going? Have a good weekend? David says, you would have thought if it's a click revenue thing that it would have been up for this year, at least with quarantine. I mean, you assume that? You assume that? Also, ads, thank you very much for the host as well. I meant to shout it out about 10 minutes ago, which was already 7 minutes after you did it, but thank you very much. But seeing you rip in the chat just kind of reminded me. Yeah, you would have thought that, but if it was already on a downward trajectory, Stitch Con Rezos, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome into the channel. Yeah, if it was already on a downward trend, a shitload more people in could give them a little bit of a boost, but it's probably always going to be kind of economies of scale. There's always going to be relative percentages in terms of if they realise that everyone's viewership and stuff's gone up. Like Twitch went up, what was it, like 100 and something percent or 100% or whatever it was, viewership. And if they've gone up like 3%, because there is more viewers, if their content is still irrelevant, I'm not saying that's what it is, but if their content wasn't relevant enough to get the column inches, the clicks, and the traffic, then by making the same content with more viewers, they're still not going to get what they want out of it. So they might realise that there's a shitload more people around online using online hours, but yeah, they're not getting enough of them. Yeah, it was a good weekend, to be honest. How about you? Not too bad. Played about 90 minutes of Avengers before the game decided to tell me that I still needed to have more of it updated. I still had 20% to go, which at the pace that it was going would have been about 2 hours. So we jumped off, played a little bit of PUBG, and that's when I jumped into your stream afterwards. And then yesterday, kind of jumped through. So I started watching The Boys on Amazon Prime.
Was it any good?
It's actually really good. So season 1 finished. It's only 8 episodes long, and we're like an episode or 2 episodes in season 2. I sat there last night, just started flagging. So I'm like there's about 15 minutes left of episode 2 or whatever it was, and I'm sat there like full on gurning in my face because I'm trying to keep my eyes open. Like, oh,
okay. I was wondering what the gurning was about. Then I thought you'd been on the old dusty showbiz again.
Hey, the only thing that goes in my body that can change my face shape is this bad boy, Muscle Moose.
Oh my god!
Yeah, just want to say exclamation mark Muscle Moose in the chat if you do want to get yourself 20%, 25% off. You know, just say it. Yeah, I wanted to watch that, and my Fire Stick crashed 20 minutes in and fell asleep instead. Well, it's actually really good. It's good. I have seen Do you know, like you watch streams, and there's always there's not that many adverts on Twitch, in terms of variety, so they get burned in your head. Like the "You're my Japanese boy," James May, our man in Japan kind of thing. That one will be burnt in your head. Also, there's a Star Wars one, not a Star Wars, a Star Trek one. There is a Jack Ryan thing where he jumps off a roof at the end into the water or something. Um, a Jason Bourne themed one, but then there's the one for the boys, and it pissed me off, like, because it was the advert made me not watch it for so long. Oh, it's only because season two's come out and everyone's been doing watch parties and be going, "Oh, it's actually really good. It's really good." So I thought, okay, well, we'll give it a go. But it's there was an advert where he sat there and going, boom, that like, how do you spank a superhero? Boom, bang, and it's just like the advert just fucking tilted me. So I was like, I'm not watching that shit. Anyway, watch it. It's actually really good. So, moral of the story is, the adverts on Twitch aren't the greatest, but you know what? The products actually can be quite decent behind them. So, give it a try. Give it a try. Anyway, moving forward. This is the story that we were originally going to lead with. There it is. There it is. Discussing now, off screen, and jumping into the next bit of news. Anytime soon. There we go. Cyberpunk 2077 is preparing to enter certification and won't cost $70 on next gen. CD Projekt indicates it's confident of hitting its November release date. This is written by Andy Robinson for VGC, and the article goes on to say Cyberpunk 2077, why is my mouse not working? There we go. Is preparing to enter final certification after 2 delays to its scheduled release this year. CD Projekt has said. Just getting the muscle move spurts out, it's fine. The highly anticipated RPG shooter was recently postponed from September until November 19th. It was the second delay for the game this year after it slipped from its originally targeted April release. Asked in an investor call on Thursday about CD Projekt's confidence of hitting its release target this time around, President Adam Kaczynski said, so yes, we are confirming, and well, actually today we start preparing for the final certification, so we're very close. Of course, we'll work on the title till the very end. That's kind of normal. It's a huge game, but as we said, everything is on track, and we're planning to launch it on the 19th of November. Cyberpunk 2077 will be playable on PS5 and Xbox Series X consoles via backwards compatibility, and a proper full-blown next-gen version is planned for release next year. Asked by another investor if CD Projekt would follow recent trends of increasing next-gen game pricing, the VP of Business Development, Michael Novakovsky, said the company would not. As I mentioned when answering the previous question, we already announced a while ago pre-orders for our game in the US going at $59.99, and we're not planning to change that price at the last minute, he said. It's been out in the market and known to consumers for some time. In Europe, the game has been marketed by quite a few retailers for quite a while as well. So, in other words, we're not planning to change where we are at the last minute for the consumers. CD Projekt Red revealed the new Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay during its second Night City Wire live stream last month. The presentation included fresh details about Life Pass. Players can choose between Street Kid, Nomad, and corporate characters when they start the game, and the weapons the players will yield. Fib, CD Projekt Red said that they are sticking to November 2019, and despite recent trends of games costing $70 plus, they aren't looking to do that themselves. Thoughts?
They're sticking to November this year, yeah?
Yes, November 19th, 2020 is the planned release date.
Well, again, just in time for Christmas. Can I see this date slipping again? Hopefully not. I think they've delayed it twice already, so they should be well on course. After making the fanfare last time, we all accepted that it was the right thing to do. So many games this year have been put back and turned out to be very good games. So again, it was the right thing to do. November 19 for me can't come quick enough. It's a game that I will be picking up straight away. It's good that they keep into this less than $70. I mean, let me start that again. We featured stories throughout this year to say that the games would be increasing in value because they haven't done for the last 10 years, which is perfectly fine. We absolutely understand that the video game industry has cost more and more each year to be able to create games, whether or not that's because of development costs or how to use the new gaming engines cost a lot more to be able to make stuff. Whether or not you need more staff, all of the above. So it's interesting that what price are they going to be going in for this? Is this going to be a £45 game on release? Is it going to be a £50 or £55? It's obviously not going to be the £60, £65 game that we've been touted. So it's interesting to see how much they expect to not lose, because I think they're going to sell more to become profitable. Like CD Projekt are still selling The Witcher 3, and that's been out for 4 years, maybe even longer than that. And the fact that this is going to have a free upgrade to the new consoles and the next gen when it's available, again, it's just a lot more resource to be able to put in. So it's interesting that they're going to be. I honestly thought that this would be the first game that would have the biggest price increase. I thought this would be the one that goes out the gate with the higher price tag, because I know none of the other big games this year so far have had that price tag, apart from if you're buying from the PlayStation Store, which adds like 25% on top of the store price game anyway. So it's interesting to see what the price will be for this, because I honestly thought it would be the first one that has the higher price tag.
Yeah, I think one thing we will never know, and I hope I could choose the answer based on what they've done previously. But one thing we would never know is if CD Projekt Red knew the game was coming out in November, they wouldn't have announced the price building up to April. So obviously, in the build up to April, they announced the what's it, smart delivery. They were the first game that were announced for smart delivery, and the fact that you will get full free upgrades and stuff for the next gen and so on. So within that, they were basically saying that you will get it at current gen cost. They were committed to that. One thing we will never know is if they knew they were releasing for November, and if they knew that other games were coming out at £70 ish, which once again is expensive compared to what we've been paying, but not expensive compared to what you get. Just want to clarify that as well. I have no issue spending £70 on a game that is worth it. And most next gen games, the amount of time and effort and everything that's going to be going into that, and yet it will cost considerably more than what we've been spending. If you're spending 45, well, I say it'd be like 60 to £65, and if we're spending around £45 on games, it's 15 to £20 more per game. Video games haven't been going up, so we've kind of been saving that money over time. And I know it's still money out of our pocket going forward, but it's money that's been in our pocket for so many years. So £70 or $70 on a game isn't horrendous compared to what you get. Compared to, and the thing I always mention, you've heard it before, is the cinema mentality in terms of how much it costs for 2 hours of entertainment at the cinema versus the amount of time you would get out of a video game. And yes, there is all sorts of money that goes into cinema and the actors and stuff like that. You get all that in video games. The cost of video games is so high now that you can't just go, oh, well, it doesn't cost the same to make a movie anymore. Quite often it does. So I don't have any issues with spending the £70. The thing I would like to know is whether they would have held that at that point. The bit that I was saying, I hope I know the answer. I hope the answer would be, because we've seen everything that they've done so far in terms of lowering prices of games and giving free upgrades, and there's upgrades coming for the Witch and things like that as well. And being the first to announce smart delivery and the whole initiative around that, I would like to think Cyberpunk and CD Projekt would just be like, do you know what, I don't even care if it's £70. We know that we can develop it and make money at £45, or well, $60 or whatever it is. We know we can make money at that, so we're just going to roll it out of that. If they can make money on that, and if they can absorb that, and they know that they're going to sell so many projected copies that they can make a decent enough profit, fair enough. But the $70 isn't there to rinse the customers, or it shouldn't be there to rinse customers. It should be there to make sure that the video games are made to the best of their ability. People get paid without the need for crunch, and corners aren't cut. That's what the $70 price tag isn't, to take money out of people's pockets. It's to ensure that everyone gets paid for a good level of service, and by result of that, we should get good games out of it. Job's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what it should be. Jumping back into the chat, Asim says, even if they wanted to, CD Projekt Red couldn't. Good morning, by the way, Mr. T. Couldn't increase the price, as they said they've marketed and messaged for so long at one price. Changing it now would go anger people, along with the delays. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it would.
Oh, I reckon it would. People just love, especially when it comes to. I mean, you could do a million and one things, but the one thing you try to do is ask for an extra quid from a video gamer. Woo! Woo! Damn.
It's it. Mm, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's for me. It's worth it's only worth the money that you pay for it, and if it's a it's going to be a massive game. Like, how much have they actually said that this game is going to cost then? Because as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen a price for this game.
Well,
The
that
pre-orders I don't think have a price, do they?
as I mentioned when answering the previous question, we already announced a while ago pre-orders for our game in the US going at $59.99.
Right.
So 45 quid. I just did a Google and I've seen that you can get it for 45 quid, brand new. That's the price for pre-ordering in pounds. I'm not saying that's the RRP, but that's what I can see it at. So between 49 quid and $60 ish.
Right.
So $10 more ish. But yeah, obviously that's RRP versus actual retail price and things like that.
See, I think even if the Chuts said it's going to cost an extra fiver, yeah, people would obviously kick off. I mean, personally, I wouldn't because I know it's probably going to be worth the money that I'm end up paying for it.
But you were applying logic to that situation, baby. Don't do this. That's the thing, though. I mean, it absolutely £5 more for a game that has all of the full blown next gen version, as they said in the article. A proper full blown next gen version is what they're saying. If people paying £5 more to get that, you would think that would be common sense. But common sense and internet rage at cost aren't necessarily the same thing. Video games, gamers are entitled, and I've probably been the same myself at some point, not to the extent of the masses, but we've all seen it in some way, shape, or form, be it the community you're in or be it observing other gaming communities. Price is something that some people will throw shitloads of money at. So you can get people that will pay for in-game currencies and skins and things like that, and people will throw shitloads of money at that without thinking about it. But others will be quite. I don't want to use the word uptight, but I just don't have the patience in me to try and find a better word. So uptight. Some people can be quite uptight about pricing. But if they say that a game's coming out at $59.99 and then it comes out at $69.99, then people will remember that and will feel hard done to it. Despite the fact that you could be getting, say there's 40 hours in the game, if they do a $69.99 version and you get 80 hours in the game, people won't see the extra 40 hours for 25% of the price. It's 200% of the game at 125% of the cost. And it's like, no, I'm not asking for them saving 75%. It's 10 quid more. Nope.
Do you think did you think they'd bring that into their overall score of the game as well? Like, regardless of how well they enjoyed the game, do you think that the pounds to enjoyment ratio, would they take that into consideration when reviewing it? Say it was an extra £5 when it came out, but you're going to be getting a full blown expansion when the new gen comes out, and you're able to play this game in glorious 14K with the billion teraflops that's available to you. If they said, right, actually, we said it was going to be $59.99. If you wanted to be able to play this on next gen, it's an extra £5. We apologize, but we think it's going to be worth it. People will begrudgingly play it because they don't want to buy the game. Very much like the Control situation now, that people bought that game long ago for £40, and now they're having to pay an extra £30 to be able to play it on PlayStation 5. If they said, actually, for an extra £5, you could play it on your brand new console with all this extra work, all the better resolutions and stuff like that. Do you reckon when people come to review the game, they will say, I had to pay an extra £5, therefore minus 2 points?
I believe that there will be some of that. Maybe not from a reviewer standpoint. Most people that will be reviewing it, obviously there are some hobbyist reviewers out there that would do that. But yeah, I believe that some people would have that opinion. I've paid more, so therefore I'm not enjoying it. I refuse to let myself enjoy it as much because it cost me more. But some people just exist to be perennially hurt. So yeah. And jump back into the chat as well. Ad says dollars. What's dollars, Kappa? That's what me and Bibby get paid. I'm joking. We get like £3. Oh no, auto scroll. Where's it gone? If it was a game that was announced this year and not been delivered so long, then they wouldn't have been at the higher next gen price than they would have. There we go. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm intrigued. Like, I'd like to know. We obviously never will know. Is would they rush? Would they push for that £70 pricing? Because they're kind of saying we don't want to put this money onto the consumer, but the wording of it that as well also doesn't say. So as I mentioned when answering the previous question, we already announced a while ago pre-orders for our game are at $59.99, and we're not planning to change that price at the last minute. It's been out in the market and known to the consumers for some time. In Europe, the game has been marketed by quite a few retailers as well. So in other words, we're not planning to change where we are at the last minute for the consumers. That's basically saying people know what the price is. We don't want to change it at the last second for them. But it also, because of the way it's said it's people know the price, so we're not going to change it. It's like, okay, so if people didn't know the price, would you change it? So yeah, I think you're probably right in that assumption that I would like to think that they would have gone, no, do you know what, we're pro-consumer, we don't need it. But also, you can still be pro-consumer and follow marketing trends as well. So yeah, likelihood is if they hadn't announced the price, then it would just be a £70 game, because that is the market rate, especially for a game of that size. They've announced it already. They've already put their cards. They've gone all in on that price. They can't necessarily go against that now. FIFA isn't worth $70. It's overpriced as it is at the moment.
It's at £4.19 on the PlayStation Store ads. So
yeah.
But I'll never get, like, at the moment with the stuff with the footballing game issue that is at hand at the moment. I have been a massive advocate, and you can go back to any of the nearly 230 episodes that we've had of the Scoop, believe it or not. And I've said in multiple of them before PES even announced that they would be taking a year out this year. I would love them to take a year out and try and fix some of the stuff and not put all their eggs in one basket when it comes to this year and what they're going to be doing with the season update and things like that. It's very difficult. Like 2K doing it now with WWE, it's very difficult to try and turn a game around in 9 months. It's probably even less than that. I don't know a development cycle for a video game that comes out every single year, but there's been numerous games that will come out on a bi-yearly basis that do a lot better than games that come out every single year. It's so difficult to be able to program a game and get it out on the shelf, go gold and everything within an 8 to 9 month period. So the fact that they're taking a year this year and said, okay, the game's going to be, is it 20 quid?
25
this year?
25
25 with it, but you get a 20% discount for if you're a legacy, if you like pre-order it, don't you?
Yeah.
Right. So if you've played PES for God knows how long and you're getting the game for 20 to 25 quid this year, but you know next year is going to be an absolute banger, I'm more than happy with that, because I know that they're going to be doing better with going forward. Like, how can I don't even know. I've been through this so many. I've been through this so many times and just going over the same thing over and over again. But it's I will never be able to get my head around, because I'm not a video game developer, how they're able to put out a game every single year. Like, how is a game worth £70 that you bring out every single year? It's very difficult for them to be able to do. Like, as they're saying, FIFA isn't worth £70 to you maybe, but to other people who that's their main game throughout the year, it's worth every single penny.
And that's the thing as well. You have to also factor in a few other bits. Like FIFA, you might say is not worth 70 quid. I using my cinnamon analogy, cinnamon, not cinnamon. It sounded like I said cinnamon, but I said cinema. Using my cinnamon analogy, I probably wouldn't have got £70 worth of FIFA gameplay. I did some Volta and played some pro clubs with Bib, and I opened my Twitch Prime packs on Ultimate Team just to see what I'd get. Nothing is what I got. But pound for pound, I didn't get my 70 quid out of it. Only because, I mean, I didn't spend 70 quid. I got it for free. So there you go. So I got my money out of it. But if I'd have spent 70 quid on it, I probably would have put more time into it. The fact that I didn't spend that money, not so much. But a lot of people will get their 70 quid out of a game to then, like, afterwards feel like they don't like it and it's not worth that point. But the fact, pound for pound and hours they put into it, they usually get to that opinion after having £70 worth of hours. So it's kind of catch-22. you realise it's not worth 70 quid when you've had over 70 quid's worth of entertainment value out of it. So is it not worth 70 quid, or is it just a case of that 70 quid has changed your opinion over that point in time? You've paid your 70 quid, you've got hours out of it, more hours than 70 quid would you'd pay for going to the cinema or whatever, and you've gone, okay, at this point I don't feel like it's worth 70 quid, but you've got 70 quid's worth out of it. So yeah. I mean, it depends. It depends. I mean, it's all perspective. Is it worth 70 quid? Is it not worth 70 quid? You tell me, and I will tell you. And you tell me one thing, and I can tell you something else, and neither of us are wrong, because it's all perception. If you've played a million hours and hated every second of it, and you were waiting for it to get good, then yeah, arguably you could say it's not 70 quid's worth of game. But if you played a million hours and it was fun for a good chunk of it, then you've got well over 70 quid in there. So and where do you get your value from? Some people will just get value from having the Barclays. Is it Barclays or Barclays? Whatever. The Premier League. Some people will have value just having the Premier League in there. And if that is value to you, then that's bajillions of pounds. So therefore, there's your 70 quid paid for. Off the bat, it depends what you want. Some people don't want fluid gameplay. Some people don't want the nets to be spectacular and to bow in when the ball hits them and to have the right impact noise. Some people don't give a shit about that. Some people do. And that's the thing. You will see a lot of people saying that you are wrong for liking a game or you are wrong for disliking a game. You do whatever you want. You like it, you don't like it. You buy it, you don't buy it. You put extra money into it, you don't. Whatever. It's your perception. If you think a game is worth 70 quid because it has Paul Pogba in it, then do you know what? Jobs are good and fill your boots. If that's where you perceive your value, then champion your life. That's good. If you don't think it's good value, fine. That's fine. I've got no issue with anyone disliking or liking a game, depending on. I mean, if it's PUBG, you have to like it, whatever. Even though I can complain about it on stream when I'm losing, but still.
Well, you've 110% got more than your money's worth out of PUBG. Like more than that. Like, how much did you pay for PUBG when it came to PlayStation?
Nothing.
Right. Okay, so you've invested like £2,000 more into that game than probably anybody else due to all the season passes. Every single time there's a new season pass, you're spending £7. Obviously, £2,000 is way over.
I mean, I have put money into it because the game was given to us by Sony, so didn't play for PUBG initially, but then bought a second copy so that I could play with Chloe. So I have bought a copy. Chloe actually got the disc version, and I bought the digital version so that I could play it wherever I moved around then. So I did buy PUBG in the end, but I've paid for like 8 season passes and some cosmetics and stuff within the game as well. So I have put way more in than what the game is, and I've got absolutely value for money. I played it for about 2 hours just yesterday off stream. So yeah, 100%. I've got my money out of the game, and I think it's excellent value for money. Others might not.
Like this year, obviously with the PES stuff, I mean, we could this literally could be an episode in itself. But did you see yesterday that Robbie was speaking to a lot of people who was asking if there's anything going to be new this year? And again, it's stuff that we've mentioned way before. Like, fair enough, the game may cost you £20 to £25, and people would just see that as a roster update, which is in some part correct. Yes, it is. But they still have to pay for the licenses. They still have to keep the servers going on. Some people will say, "Oh, £25 for a server that keeps on falling down. What fucking hell's that about?" So there's a myriad of things that people have to. How are they supposed to keep them up without people paying for it? But I'm just about to post a tweet into the chat for other people who may not have seen this. Someone's made a collective roundup of what Robbie was saying yesterday. So apparently the dribbling has been fixed this year. Improved arbitration. I have no fucking idea what that means. Improved impact motor, i.e., players won't collide into each other as much. Scoreboards with different colours in each league. Polished graphics in every part of the game, stadiums, uniforms. Obviously, all the new kits and licenses that they've managed to acquire this year. And a few polishes here, there, and everywhere. So fair enough, the game is at a cut price. It's near enough, I'd probably say 60% of the price that you may have paid last year, depending on where you bought it from. But for me, if you're paying that for this year, that's more than your money's worth. More than your money's worth, especially if you get the pre-order pack and then you end up getting 3,000 coins which I know for a fact there will be either people in this chat or people on Twitter that I follow and they follow me that will spend more. They will spend hundreds this year trying to get iconic moments. They will literally spend £30, £40 every single time that they get paid, or maybe drop in £10 every single week to be able to try and get the iconic moments players for that week. This is a stupidly good deal for this year if you are interested in playing Pez. I'm not trying to say this obviously because we have an affiliation with them. I.e., me and you are fans of the franchise, and we obviously worked on the esports and everything else that goes alongside it. But this, for someone who plays Pez religiously every single day, £20 for the year is a stupidly good price.
Yeah, see, this game is that good priced for me that it's actually going to get less money off me. So as Bib says, get pets for free. I don't pay for pets, but what I do is pay for coins at the start of the year. As soon as I get pets, I put money into some coins. Some people will, some people won't. The reason I do that is because I don't want to spend a shitload of hours sinking time into my club. It's not my game mode of choice. But if I put coins in on day one, I can get a manager, which means that I don't have to then worry about changing my manager 2-3 times. A lot of people will put coins in and try get team of the kind of players. If you're a FIFA guy, iconic moments or legends or featured players, whatever you want to call them. Some people will go for those. I will after I've got my manager that plays in a formation that I want. Once I've got that, then I know that I can just keep spaffing players into my team, and I can just add a few extra manager points or whatever they're called to keep boosting up my management skills so that I can have a team of worldies. But usually it's a case of, well, the game cost me nothing, so I'm kind of indebted to the game. I'm not, but I am. Just personally, I think, well, I'm going to be getting shitloads of hours like this and not paying for it. I might as well throw some money into coins for my enjoyment. I see that as good value for money for me. Feck what anyone else thinks. But this year, if it comes with 3,000 coins, result! I mean, it saves me some money. I mean, I probably will put it back in down the line, but that's my opinion. Whether you agree with it or not, that's absolutely fine. You can agree with it, you can not agree with it, but you're not going to change my opinion.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
That's it. Everyone's opinion is going to be completely different. It's going to be conflicting. There is going to be people that have ridiculed this decision from day one. They would much rather have a new game every single year, regardless of whether or not there's been tweaks to it. I don't understand the frustration this year. If I'm being perfectly honest, like for as long as I can remember, I would love most games that I adore to take a year off to be able to come back stronger in the next one. But this day and age, when people demand everything day one for free, bear in mind, no one likes fucking paying for anything. Um, it's a very difficult situation which they've found themselves in. For me, I think it was the right decision. I know full well next year, if the game isn't anywhere close to what people have in their heads, isn't being translated onto the pitch, they're up for the utmost scrutiny. But I would much rather them take that risk rather than trying to make a brand new game this year and then a brand new game for the PlayStation 5. Anyone that's been around PES for long enough will know the transition from one gen to the next has never been a good one for PES.
The
It's never been great.
transition from PS2 to PS3 is what set PES back on the trajectory that FIFA flew away and PES had a mountain to climb. That transition was that. It climbed a lot of that back in areas on the pitch, which you may or may not agree with. But then the transition to PS4 gave us PES 2014, which some people liked, which I don't understand. I hated that game. I genuinely did not like that game whatsoever, and I've never hidden that. But it's got better since then. And by taking a year off to mean that I've not got a year of like painful trying to ignore gameplay faults that just shouldn't be there, kind of thing. I mean, I said just shouldn't be there. It's easy to say that. I'm not a developer. I'm not having to smash out a game that's completely built from the ground up on an engine that's completely brand new on a game system that's completely brand new in 8 months, whilst also trying to maintain and keep the other game up to date as well. I'm not doing all of that. So I mean, it's easy to say, well, they shouldn't be there, but the fact is, the kind of people they're overworked, so they're gonna be there. If I ask you to do 6 things at once and need them in 3 minutes, you're gonna make mistakes. And that's kind of how it is.
The fact that they're moving over to the Unreal Engine as well, that I would much rather them take the 18 months that they need to be able to try and work on that. It's not as if they're just moving over the Frostbite engine, the Fox engine, and working with that on a new gen console. They're literally working from a brand spanking new Unreal Engine. So I'd much rather them take the 18 months that they need to get fixated with that, because again, PES 6 will always haunt me on the Xbox 360. So any time that we're going to be moving into a new console, I'd much rather them take the year, and that is with every single game, whether or not that be Call of Duty, Battlefield obviously have been hindered uh, since since moving over to the PlayStation 4. I mean, we've had some absolute bangers, but we have had a few misses. Call of Duty, another one. So these games that come out every single year, like people still say that FIFA 16 is the best FIFA there has been since ever. FIFA 16 is like the game, the FIFA game of all time, and that was what, nearly 5 years ago. So it's very difficult to be able to shove these games out every single year and try to get the top dollar for them, especially when it comes to Ultimate Team, because you're paying 70 quid for that, mate, you are slapping in 500 quid in that easy. And that's the same with PES as well. So I would much rather them take the time to be. I don't know whether or not this is because we're invested in video games itself. We work with video game companies to be able to put out their messages. So we have a little peek behind the scenes. We can look behind the curtain and see what people are doing. So we've got a little bit more say in what goes around rather than just being an outsider. Because fair enough, 4 or 5 years ago, when I was in the community for various games, I might have just been easy to throw out statements like they need to be fucking doing better. This is absolute disgrace. I mean, I still echo that Resident Evil 6 is still the worst fucking game that they could have ever put out, because they did so far away from what people expected. But since then, they've taken the feedback, they've taken the time with the games, and what we've got two absolute banging, sorry, three: Resident Evil 7, Remake 2, Remake 3, because they've taken the time, the feedback to put in what made those games
Almost
good.
four. Almost
Uh,
four. I mean, that's if eight's good.
yeah, exactly. So they've taken the time away. They've got the feedback. They've not, literally gone on their own scale. They've just done this behind closed doors and then said, actually, we've got these new games coming out here. You might end up liking them. So you can't really do that with established yearly games. So they've had the balls to say, actually, there's going to be no game this year. We're going to tweak what we've got so far. I mentioned this about 4 months ago when we found out that this game would be going live without a season update. The fact that we still need to be paying the servers to be going forward and things like that. That there is no way that this game would have had an entire year without any fixes. They would never have just spent £25. That's it for the year. You're getting nothing else, just a roster update. There's no way that they would have let the servers not be maintained. There's no way that they wouldn't be doing iconic moments. There is no way that the game would have just been no Thursday maintenance and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, again, this is a ballsy move. I hope that it comes out the other side amazing, because that will benefit absolutely everyone, including us. First and foremost, we are still fans of this franchise. Fair enough. In 45 minutes' time, we're going to be streaming PES again. We have streamed PES so many times this year. It's that just shows how much we have an affiliation with them. We are still fans of this franchise, and I still will be playing it. I still play. I've got a shelf up there designated behind the Muscle Moose, obviously designated to every single PES that's come out. So I don't know what more can I show to say that I'm a fan of this franchise, regardless of the fact that we still work with it and we put tournaments on around the world.
Just want to say, he says, what more can I do to show that he's a fan of the franchise? All I'm going to say is on one of Bibby's bum cheeks, he's got the letters PR. And, and then right next to it on the other side it says Evolution Soccer. You can imagine what the O is. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Don't ask to see it. It's no terms of service, terms of service. I would jump through the chat, but the conversation has gone left, right, centre, up, down, backwards and forwards, and into Robbie's comments, which Renan Galvani has pulled together. So I won't jump through the chat. You guys obviously talk amongst yourselves. Key things, though, is that one thing that Asim did say is God bless Robert, he just put a target on his back there. If those aren't all in, Twitter will be fun. And then I did see another comment I can't find right now saying that's not true or that's bullshit or whatever, because they've said that nothing is. That guy talks rubbish as Konami's already said it's 100% the same game as PES 20, so we'll see. That guy is Konami. Robbie works for Konami. So if he's saying that sort of stuff, it might not be in the game, which is where Asim was saying, God help him, hopefully it's in the game, because if not, he'll have a target on his back. But it's absolutely stuff that, if he's mentioning it, he won't just be... Robbie's been in this game for long enough. Robbie also isn't a pawn in terms of he's just some guy that's dropped into Konami to get a job in video game marketing and doesn't care. Robbie Ron has loved Pez for just as long as you have, and probably longer. If you've been around,
maybe the most people have been alive that are in this chat.
yeah, exactly. So Robbie Ron is absolute pure passion and one of the nicest people you will ever meet as well. So if he's saying something like that, that's because that to him is factual information. Whether it actually turns out to be that or whatever, you shouldn't blame him for that. He's giving you information that he's been given. But if he's saying that there's tweaks and things like that, I would imagine that if you are a brand that's releasing the same game year on year, and you hopefully can make updates to it, do you A, tell people that hopefully you will update the game, or do you B, tell people that there is no updates coming to the game? If you add the word hopefully in, you do not say anything at all. Because if you say we're hoping to bring things to the game, we're hoping that we can work on refs and keepers and whatever. People go, oh, all right, they're gonna work on refs and keepers. People forget the hopeful. They forget. Oh, you said that it might have been coming and nothing's happened. Just lazy. So if they've just gone, nothing's going to happen. But then stuff comes. It's under promise and over deliver. What Robbie has done is kind of drawn the curtain back, like as Bibbs was saying. He's shown you a little bit of stuff that they are hoping to work on. Whether it is in, wonderful. If it isn't, okay. If it is in, but it's not quite what it's meant to be, it's only a season update. They're trying to get it to where they kind of need it to be. As long as it's not broken, if it's an update, it's fine. But it's not something you should expect. So yeah, he works for Konami. They did an interview though saying the game, the same gameplay unless they've decided to try fixes. I mean, they have said that it's the same game, but just because it's the same game at the start of the year doesn't necessarily. They haven't said that they are working on it across the year. They haven't said that they aren't working on it across the year. I would, as someone that is in video games, would expect them to maybe do incremental tweaks or maybe test the waters for things that they're going to be trying next year in terms of gameplay tweaks and so on. Obviously, it's going on a completely different engine, so maybe not. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did extra bits. But I definitely would not say anything about it. If I was gonna see if I can improve gameplay for the fans, seeing if I can improve is not committal. So therefore, I would not ever put that in a marketing message. Because if I see if I can do something and tell you about it, you, Mr. Switched On guy who I'm having a conversation with, will understand. But people that just read the headlines or read other people's comments about it on Twitter rather than actually doing the thought for themselves will just turn toxic. So I would, even if I was hoping to add to the gameplay, not mention it. I'm not. Nope, it's the same game. Yep, we are building the same game. The core of it is the absolute same game. And I think maybe not. Maybe you could prove me wrong. But I imagine if you look into some of the wording, the way that it has been said, it doesn't say this game is the exact same and will be the same game throughout the year. We are not working on it at all. I imagine it's probably saying that it's built on the same game, or it's going to be maybe some places where pushed, you might get a bit more committal, but not entirely. Purely because I would expect from myself, without them saying it, something might change, but I wouldn't commit to it. That's what I'm saying. Jumping in. Maybe the interview and what they're doing now has changed. Maybe not. Maybe it's exactly the same. Maybe they are still going to stick to the wording that everything is going to be the same. Robbie saying that they're hoping to work on these things, that's just him sharing his hopes. Stick with the idea that it's the same game. Stick to that. Forget anything else. Stick to that. And then if you get something, then it's a benefit. If you expect that as a minimum, then you're setting yourself up for a fall. So just ditch it. Get it. They're not working it. It's going to be the same game. Fine. If something else comes along, high five. Yeah. But just forget it. Just forget it. David says, I don't know if it's because I watched Soccer Aid last night, but when you were saying Robbie, I thought you were on about Robbie Williams. It shows how much I follow football. Well, Robbie Ron's bigger than Robbie Williams, so, there is that. I mean, physically as well, because he's a fucking tank.
The Japper says, you can vote with your wallet, but be smart. I'm having to wait for Tony Hawk's because I've got shit paid for this month. By the time I can afford it, it'll be cheaper. Mate, I've been waiting for Tony Hawk's as well, but I can't afford it this month. So I'll wait until I can afford it. It's as simple as that. Like, there is so many games that I would love to be able to just sit down and get through, but I literally don't have the money. Like Last of Us Part 2, still haven't picked that up. Marvel's Avengers, really would like to play that at some point as well. Tony Hawk's, another one that I'd like to be able to pay, but these games just cost money, and I can't afford them all. So it's just one of them things. I'd much rather pay to go and play golf competitions, like this weekend, for instance. Paid £17 to play in 2 golf competitions. That's where I'd much rather spend my money than playing games. Like Asim said, playing games, and gaming is a luxury hobby, but I'd much rather have a real life. That's horrible. A real life hobby, as in I'm going out and playing sports as my hobby, than paying for games. That's just the way it is. I mean, I'll probably get more enjoyment out of playing golf for 3 hours with my friends around the course, trying to be good at a sport that I'm terrible at, rather than paying £45 for a game that I will probably complete in like 20 hours and then not get anything for it. It's just whatever you need to be both things are luxury, but I'd much rather have a luxury of going out and playing sports with my friends than paying £45 for a game. That's what I'm trying to say.
Maybe he doesn't have friends. Don't listen to him. It's fine.
I don't have friends. I have none.
Ian says, the thing for me is being a PES fan is a bit like being a football fan. Obviously, I'm an Evertonian. I mean, GG's to Everton, by the way, for helping Ice Cream Pullers win the Premiership at the first time of asking by smashing Liverpool in the Merseyside derby on the last day of the season. Just saying. Obviously, I'm an Evertonian, and for a few years, we've been shy, and it upsets the fans. We still support them. But we've been disappointed. You get upset because you're passionate about it, and some people vent that in the wrong way. PES fans want PES to be good, want to be so good because we remember the glory days of IS, etc. And some people just rant. That's the thing. I mean, I don't judge people in that sense because I've seen it for many years in the video games industry, and I absolutely agree. A lot of people are so passionate about things that they get angry. But
we're an emotional bunch, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. But there is almost a self-destructive nature of fandom that some people can be so passionate about something that they want to kill it. It's probably harshly worded that, but it's something that you do see, and there has been studies in it in terms of people enjoy something so much that they dedicate their life to it. They become either content creators or news writers, or they create their own fan website, or they start to build a collection, or whatever it is. People display their fandoms in certain way. You might get a tattoo, I don't know, whatever it is. But then if it doesn't go the way they wanted, people feel like that game has turned its back on them. It's insulted them and everything that it stood for. And it's like, it's literally not that personal. You feel that way because you've made it a very personal thing that you own. Your collection, you own it. So you own a part of this game, and it's not going your way. People then start to feel like they personally are being attacked in the way that the games are changing. And then, as a result of that, if they can't have it their way, no one will have it at all. So they start to turn other people against it as well. And it's a communal decision. It's not a communal decision. It's a communal thing. It's a psychological thing. People more often than not don't realise that they are adding to the hatred that then something that started out so positive, they've created a negative echo chamber that feeds that own fire of, rather than being a nice bright blue flame, it's now dark red and evil flame that is self-fueling, that doesn't go out because it's got an echo chamber of other flames that keep adding to the flame. And it's something that I don't judge people for it. I try not to. I probably will do every now and then. But it's just a natural thing. People can be so nasty and toxic around video games, and that can go beyond any realm of acceptability. People can go personal about things, as Asim, if he's still in the chat, will 100% be able to vouch for. People will go after people over a game because they've made it such a personal thing to them that they feel, I have spent my time and my effort and my money to create my baby, be it a website, be it a YouTube, be it a hard physical copy collection, whatever it is, that I feel justified to attack someone personally. And I try not to judge the people, even the ones that take it too far. I try not to judge people because it's a psychological behaviour, and it stems from a good place. Not that it's acceptable at all, ever. It's not acceptable, but it stems from a good place. And that's what I try to keep hold of. I don't always, just like they don't always keep it acceptable. But people deep down want it to be good, but often that gets to a point where it could never be good because they have more space for that hate now. That hate has taken over so much that the collection is kind of secondary to the hate. The hate is the more character-defining thing about that personality. So yeah, I try not to hold it against people, but But yeah, everyone who is negative about it usually comes from a place where they really liked it and it just didn't satisfy what they needed from it. Anyway, long fucking rant, but yeah, there you go. Bibby needs a pay rise. Can you not put it on your company expenses? It's because we don't try to show it on the stream. That
Wait, I get
often.
paid?
No, I mean, don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. We don't try to show it on the stream that often. But do you know when we do Masters of the League, we obviously jump into the uploader, which is our Range Rover. If we pull up at the ICU Manor House, you can see there's a Lamborghini at the back. All I'm saying is the last time we gave Bibby expenses, we now have a black Lamborghini that we can't do anything with. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Getting it on PSP bit, we'll have to do some dueling on the skate park.
Absolutely.
And then play Tony Hawk's. Bibby doesn't have friends, he has lovers, says Asim.
Many.
1 week till PES 21, we'll see if it's improved. I'll have to take others away for it though, as I haven't pre-ordered. Tito says, but as a fan of PES, I genuinely think fans are doing more harm by sticking by Konami and even chucking more money at them in icons, etc., when the product has, by all accounts, deteriorated. If you're a true fan, the only way you'll persuade any business to change is not to give them your money. I agree. If you want to change, then vote with your wallet. However,
what defines a true fan, though?
And what defines deteriorating? Because this is the thing. If PES has deteriorated, what says that? What says that? I mean, there's all sorts of things that you could say defines the game's deteriorated. As the review score's gone down, does that show it's deteriorated? Is a review score reflective? Because that's a subjective thing. That's one person's opinion on a video game put into a number format, which is then collated with other people and then put into a Metacritic. But even Metacritic, it's a meta score. Does a meta define something for everyone? No, a meta is a sweeping statement. And that's, I mean, obviously I'm going back into fucking full on psychology again now, but you might have a very, very good, well developed and very articulate opinion on why a game has deteriorated over time, but there might be a million other people that think, fucking love this, throwing my money into this bad boy. So even though you and a lot of people that are quite vocal around you might share the same opinion, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the same opinion for everybody. And that's the thing. That even the thing with Twitter as well, which makes it even worse, is you might see a swathe of people going, okay, this is shit, and it could be something specific, nets, or refs, whatever it is, whatever. And if you're seeing a lot of other people, that's essentially validation, psychological validation. My theory has been proven correct, and then seconded, and then thirded, and then 27th, whatever. And a lot of people think the same as me, but that isn't representative of society as a whole. That lacks ecological validity because that's only people that are loud and on social media. There are a lot of people that aren't loud on social media. And there are a lot of people that are loud but don't have social media. And there are people just aren't loud and don't have social media. And there are people that are loud and have social media but don't even know PES has a Twitter account or whatever. Or the community exists in that sort of way. So, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point of saying that the game has deteriorated and people should vote with their wallets if they don't agree with it. But if a lot of people are voting with their wallets, are they wrong and are you right? How they might think that you're wrong and they're right, and that's where the trade-off is. I agree with what you're saying, the sentiment behind it, but I'm also wary of that because I think things probably do need to change in certain areas, and I think by funding it completely, you're not gonna have to change. But I don't have enough ego in myself to think that what I want from the game is what everyone else wants as well. And that's the thing we need to be careful of, is you are judging for everyone else based on yourself, which one size doesn't fit all. I disagree, there's still a business and the franchise makes money. Do you really think a business will throw away that franchise? I think that fear is false and doesn't help the situation. They are a business and the franchise does make money, but everything needs to show trends going the right way. If the trend's going down for a few years, then they're not going to take a year off and so on. I mean, Kotaku UK has just closed this morning. That's an example right there. Obviously, if that's a downward trend of stuff, they're probably still making money, but not as much as it would be. So, okay, cut the resources and let's just, rather than make ever decreasing profits, let's make bigger profits elsewhere or save money entirely. So yeah, a lot of business decisions make before you hit the red light. You don't. It's like, oh shit, red flags. Quite often you get a sign that flags are gonna be red, so you stop at that point. Sammy J says a lot of hardcore Michael players would largely agree that the game's deteriorated, but non-Michael feel differently, and rightly so. The gameplay is different. See, rightly so. That's the thing again. In your opinion, I'm not saying whether I agree or disagree. You can probably figure out by watching Masters of the League whether I agree or disagree with you on that. Anyway, but your opinion or my opinion or Bib's opinion, that's it. Just because it's right to you doesn't mean it's right for everyone. That's the thing that's you kind of need to keep in mind. I mean, we have to keep in mind, being social media guys in the video games industry, that it's all based on opinion, and your opinion is correct to you. My opinion is correct to me, and probably to other people, but to me, that's the only person I can have any sort of control over that. I personally buy the game and then don't spend another penny on it after that. I build my team based on the ground of the game. It puts me at a slight disadvantage maybe, but that's my choice. And it's an amazing choice. That's an amazing choice. You don't fund it whatsoever, which means you are a second-class gamer, so we don't care about you. So get out of here. Yeah, am I joking? No, that's it. If that's how you play your game, wonderful. That's how I played my game for a long time as well. Master League is shite too. I played all modes, so I mean, you've clearly not been watching Masters of the League, mate. Oh, you have. You've been here, fuck. People, average Joe Jane, enjoying stuff are less likely to go on social media and be vocal about it. They're just enjoying it, and that's it. Quite a lot of people aren't hardcore PES fans. They like video games and they like PES, but PES is the game that they play September and into October. But then we'll pick up Call of Duty or whatever in October and November, and PES is a game they play, PES is a game that they enjoy, and they enjoy my club. And all the way it's changed and stuff for them, but they aren't part of the hardcore PES community. Does that make them less valuable? Don't know. Put it into this context, you're a Ferrari fan. No, it's a Lamborghini actually, parked outside the ICU man house, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a Ferrari fan, and you've always bought Ferraris. Suddenly they start producing Ferraris that still look good, but with Skoda engines that go like Reliant Robins. Do they still deserve your loyalty? Would you still buy one? Maybe not. That would be my decision. If you feel that it's not what you want in a Ferrari, then don't buy it. But if I feel, do you know what? I still get enough of the Ferrari buzz, and I buy it, then that's fine for me because that's my.
Would it be cheaper? Would it be cheaper is the question. If I'm going to be buying a Ferrari and it's got a Skoda engine in there, is it going to be a quarter of the price? Because if it is, and it's people from the outside, it still looks like a Ferrari. Fucking dead right, I'm buying one because it will be a lot more money I've saved.
But even if it's not, because sticking with the analogy, even if it's not. If PES has PES engine and it costs 45 quid, but then it gets the Skoda equivalent of the engine and it's still 45 quid, you might not enjoy it. You might like, this isn't the Ferrari or the Lamborghini or whatever that I signed up for. This is a fucking Skoda. I mean, Skodas are actually really good cars now, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. You'd be like, okay, I didn't pay for a Skoda. I paid for a Ferrari. I'm not interested. Get rid of it. And then never buy another one. You have voted with your wallet. But I could go, do you know what? I've spent a shitload of money on this Skoda, and I'm actually quite enjoying it. So yeah, I might buy the next one. I might buy another Skoda next year. For a Ferroda or whatever the fuck they were going to call it. Some people might do that, and it's not the wrong decision. It's the wrong decision from your perspective, which completely I see, 100% see it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong though. But you're choosing other people's decisions based on the logical outrage from your perspective, but other people might not have the same perspective. Some people might have the money for the Skoda Ferrari and go, do you know what? It plays all right, but the other games, say PES is a Lamborghini with a Skoda's engine, they might see FIFA as a Ferrari with a Skoda's engine or whatever. So it's just is what it is for them. So
you see, Tito's analogy is right. If PES was going to be full price again this year, but it's not. It's not. It's like a fraction of the price that it would usually cost, depending on, again, where you got the game from. So his analogy is right. However, for this context and the fact that PES is actually going to be cheaper this year, I don't think it's correct. So because he said, nope, same price, but the game this year isn't the same price. So for all the bells and whistles that I'll be driving around in a Ferrari with a Skoda engine, again, if it was a fraction of the price, yes, I would buy it. Because from the outside, it still looks fucking great. And it probably still drives great because the Skoda engine is Again, like you just mentioned, probably they are decent cars nowadays. However, it's going to be a fraction of the cost of a Ferrari. So uh, I
I
think
mean,
that's where the analogy kind of falls down with that one. But still, I agree
the,
to a
the
degree.
analogy this year would be you'd be driving around in your Ferrari, but it's got a big, massive red cheap as fuck sticker on the side of it, so people know that you're driving a Ferrari, but they also know that it's one that you got proper cheap. So
Yeah. Outlet Ferrari on the side of it.
yeah, exactly. We are paying for a DP we normally get for free unless they do have gameplay fixes. You're paying for a data pack that you normally get for free. You don't normally get free in the second year of a game. You don't get data pack if you pay for PES 2019, you get 3, 4, 5, whatever, depending on the data packs. You don't get one when 2020 comes out. Nobody gets any more stuff for 19, and that's the thing. You don't get this for free. By saying that, that's kind of egotistical. That's the that's not egotistical. What's the word I was saying before? Anyway, gamers expect. So by expecting the data packs aren't free. Data packs have never been free. We are paying for. We get a data pack for free. No, you get a data pack because you paid for the game and the support of that game over the course of the year. People might not like the boots. A lot of people do. Manny, for example, loves getting the new boots in the data pack. A lot of people go, fucking boots and balls, I don't give a shit. But Manny really likes that because that changes his become a legend playthrough. It gives him another small dimension that he can tweak and tweak as he goes through. But you pay for the game, you pay for the data pack. That is the data pack that is issued as a result of owning that game. You
I
pay
mean,
for the
would
servers.
people be okay this year if they did PES 2021 didn't exist and they just had to be stuck with PES 2020 for another year? Would that have been a different scenario? Would people have
Um,
preferred that?
that's
No
the thing.
data packs, no transfers. The
No
only
featured
the only
players, no online
yeah,
tournaments.
the only way that all that would have changed is if someone like PES Universe, PES World, Evo Web, and all those lot was to change it for you. Would that have been acceptable?
Self-entitlement. There we are. Entitled. That's the word. That statement. Cheers, Mr. T. That statement is essentially that is entitlement. You by phrasing that word, you're changing the weight of it. By saying that the data packs are free, they're not free. They are developed by a team working in a studio that puts that content together. They add extra players in. They change people's stats. They will add the boots and the balls and the whatever stuff that you might see as incremental and irrelevant is stuff that still needs to be licensed and paid for and developed and put into the game. And that stuff stops at the end of the year. So if you paid for PES 2020, at the end of 2020, if there was no season update, then you would not get any extra content. All of the licenses would have stopped, so they can't even choose to keep spaffing out content into that because they've paid for the license for the Champions League license. Well, the shit one because that's not obviously there. I can't even think of any. The ICC, that's in it. So they've paid for the license for the ICC. Let's say it ends at that year, they can't keep supporting the game because the licenses aren't even factored in there, so you won't get any of that. So those data packs that you're getting for free, you're not getting because you've not renewed your subscription, so to speak. Yes, they're scamming people again. Scammed us with PED 2020 demo. Now scamming people
Strong words.
with the update.
Very strong words.
Yeah, see, that's
Morning, Yeehaw.
I mean, yeah, I'm not even going to argue with that one because that's pure emotion there, ads. I'll just say that's your opinion. Let's just leave it at that bit then. Do you know what? We've done one story and an additional story. This is what happens when we start talking about PES. Do you know what? I will give you the headlines. We're an hour and 25 minutes in, so we should just wrap things up. I'll give you the headlines rather than running through the stories. And if we have time, we'll revisit them tomorrow, but no doubt there'll be a million more stories. If not, then at least I've given you the headlines today. So the stories that we were going to run through are Scalpers are already profiting from the limited release of Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Written by Don Peppiatt. Nintendo's choice to make Super Mario 3D All-Stars a limited release is backfiring as Scalpers take to online auction sites to charge ridiculous rates for the game. Dog shit. I mean, we kind of said it was an odd decision, and we did say that it might lead to some fucking people missing out and so on. Didn't think that people would be doing it from the off, but yeah. I'm assuming that's physical sites. I'm not going to jump into the physical sales. I'm not going to jump into the articles to confirm it, but anyone that wants to get Super Mario All Stars, because there's a limited stock for a limited time, people have bird botted the shit out of it and are just hiking up the prices because people are weapons. Next up, EA removes in-game ads from UFC 4. This one I didn't like at all.
Mm.
Basically, in UFC, you get replays and stuff, and in the replays, it was coming up with full screen adverts for The Boys, which is a show that we were actually talking about earlier on Twitch, not Twitch, Amazon Prime TV, Prime Video, what it's called. These ads kept popping up full screen in the game in the highlight reels, which fair enough. All right, you've got in-game advertising. It's fine. It happens in stuff anyway, so I don't mind a bit of in-your-face advertising because that's what happens in sport and stuff anyway. It's kind of real if it ties into it. The shit bit for me is that it came in a month after reviews have gone live. So it's kind of like, okay, everyone's reviewed it and we've got our Metacritic. It's all kind of set and plateaued and leveled out. Now let's throw advertising in. Not a fan of that stuff. Anyway, everyone else wasn't a fan of it, so it was pulled. EA apologised and have taken it out of the game. They've realised that people don't want to be mega in-your-face advertised to. And then the final article was that Dirt 5 has been delayed again to be closer to the next gen. The racer will now release in November. Codemasters delayed the release of Dirt 5 for the second time in 4 weeks. So there you go. If you were interested in playing Dirt in October, it's not actually out. It was moved from October 16th to November 6th. And that is that. Yeehaw! Good morning, cool dudes and chat. Morning, Ads and Nazim. Good morning. Good morning. So the PES demo is the same as the full game? Question mark? No. No, it's not at all. That's you can't say that fact means that something has scammed. That's what I'm saying. By saying this is a scam, you're changing the meaning of two separate things. You can't use power of deduction to say two different things are the same thing. I get where you're coming from with the logic, which is fine. I don't mind a discussion with the logic by just flat out bluntly saying someone has been scammed because something is different. Despite there being many outcomes in there, that's not a discussion. That's emotion-filled anger, and that's the bit where I was saying you feel passionate about PES. You're in here because you like PES. You stream PES. You watch us play PES, which is amazing. Just make sure you own the anger in terms of if you are angry about something, share the reasoning. By just saying something is a scam is not sharing the reasoning, and you're just allowing just the bad stuff to fester. So yeah, that's the reason why I said I wasn't going to respond to that bit. Not totally against the data pack update and price they've put on it. Football games should move away from yearly iterations in favour of a more live service model. Do you know what? I 100% agree with that one. Although I don't actually know any of the finances and stuff, but I think that would work better. But just because I think that, I don't know. But we know it's only a roster update. We'll still only get same limited week content, same gameplay, same online experience, and that's where it falls down. Except there'll still be associated costs for servers extra, but lack of gameplay fixes and support during the life of each game is criminal in this day and age. That's the thing, though. I mean, you can't make an omelette without breaking an egg, and that egg has got to be. We have to scale up on the next gen. We have to continue to pay for the licenses that we've paid for, and we have to activate those because those licenses are. It's like having before PES sells a copy, they're already down millions of pounds because they've paid for more licenses and stuff. I mean, whether you want it or not, whether you could go, yeah, but PES doesn't need licenses. I've played it since we had. Ryan Greggs. I mean, yeah, I understand. I used to play with Greggs and Von Mistelraum and all the rest of those. I don't need these, but PES needs it to compete in the current gen, and it by selling it at a reduced price, it will more likely sell not as much as it has done previously, and it's obviously getting half the value per game that it sells from the off. That's you've got to feel that that's just to recoup some of that. If you're starting off in the negative because you've got the ICC to pay for, you've got the Eredivisie, you've got Liga 1 and whatever other leagues are in there and so on. You've got all of that sort of stuff in there. By starting it off with all those paid for, you have to recoup those before you make a profit. So, yeah. Whether they make millions of pounds of profit or whatever, however it works, even if they say they make £1 billion last year profit, probably not, but let's say they did. If this year they make like 700 million, people will be like, yeah, it's still 700 million. It is, but it's also a drop, and that drop alarms shareholders. Shareholders pull, pricing suddenly gets cut, and budgets drop massively. So even if things drop, just because it's made a monumental amount of money, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get a monumental amount of support going forward. Business is very, very, very fragile in that sort of sense, which I'm sure you probably know already. You don't need me to tell you that shit. But anyway, let's stop. We can all talk about. Do you know what? We'll schedule in a Pez chat. I think maybe at some point, so we can all talk. Maybe even do it after launch. Just after launch, we could do it then and have a little bit of a chat so we can see how we all feel following the launch. I mean, at that point, we'll know if the bits that were in that tweet that were linked earlier on in the chat, if it's come to fruition or not, and then we can all share our thoughts. But I mean, I'm completely up for these sort of discussions. I love a good chat like this. I'm telling you what I'm saying, what I think. Just because I'm saying that doesn't mean it's right. It's right to me, doesn't mean it's right to you, and you don't have to agree with that, which is what I like. The fact that we've got ads in here telling us that Pez are scamming people. I mean, I'm not a fan of the wording and the way it was put across in that sense, but that's a different opinion to what I have, and there's nothing wrong with having that opinion. Like I say, I don't want to engage in opinions of that kind where there's no real build up to it. It's just the emotion. I like the fact that there's emotion behind an opinion because it's an emotive response. It means something to you. I love the fact that people have different emotive responses in this chat. We've got, I mean, I didn't see them. Oh, I can't scroll up enough because it keeps moving. Iceman obviously had different opinions. Ads has got different opinions. Tito's got different opinions. We've all got varying opinions. Some side with some people, some side with others. Ian, Evertonian Ian, he has different opinions too. We all have different opinions, and it's really good that we can share them without calling ads a big fanny. Although I'm going to go off in just a second, just so we can call him that. No, I'm only joking. I called you a dough ball first, Konami said the game would be the same game as demo play, but it wasn't. They lied. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, dough ball. Anyway, do you know what? I won't. We'll save that. We'll save that. We can unpick all of that stuff as we move forward. But everyone, thank you very much for joining us in a very non-general news conversation and join us for next part of a Pez discussion weekly on Ice Cream Uploads. But no, yeah, it is good. I do like a good, deep conversation like that. Obviously, it's not for everyone, and the chances are we've probably scared a few people away that came in to talk about general games industry news, but you know, it's fine. We like Pez. We come from a Pez background. There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, it is what it is. I do appreciate a good debate. Thank you very much everyone for taking part. But we are going to drop off. We are going to jump back on though, because I did see Sohail says Pez stream ? You goddamn right. We're going to jump back on with our Masters of the League. It's the only episode this week as well. So if you're around, feel free to stick around because Wednesday and Friday the episodes won't be happening. We are transitioning back into being in the studio, so we don't have the availability this week to do Wednesday and Friday stream. But we do have one for you today, so we're going to go offline. We'll come back on with Masters of the League in 10, 15-ish, depending on how long it takes to get set. So make sure you stick around for that. But before we do jump off and jump back on again with Masters of the League, Bib, is there anything you want to add in?
Yes, if you do actually want to hear any more video game news from around the interwebs, then do feel free to get in contact with us. There's two ways you could do that. First of all, our Ice Cream Uploads across all major social media platforms. Second thing is to join our Discord. There is a little section in there called The Scoop. All you need to do is drop in the news article along with the link, your thoughts and impressions, and then we will add our thoughts and impressions on the very next show, which will be at what time tomorrow, Mr. Graham Day?
10 a.m.-ish. Oh, actually, do you know what? We've not even thought.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, tomorrow we are back in the studio. So, do you know what? It's going to be fairly last minute. We will let you know if there is going to be a scoop or not tomorrow. Because tomorrow is the first day we are all fully back into the Ice Cube studio, and with obviously safeguarding and social distance and stuff like that, we have to see how the day pans out. So there may not be a scoop tomorrow. We will let you know by tweeting out anyway. So you'll find out. Obviously, the social links are in the chat, so you will find out whether we actually do or don't have the scoop tomorrow. But if we do, it'll be at 10 a.m. ish. There you go. There you go. Anyway, like I said, we're going to jump off. We will be back imminently with Pez Masters of the League, episode 2456. It's not, but you know, we're pretty far into it. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, we're going to disappear. We'll see you in a few. Until then,
stay frosty.
Stay frosty. I don't know why the insulator shit itself then. Let's try that again. See if it works this time.